Hey Hawks, so today we're going to talk about groups, periods, and families of the periodic table. So our question is, how can categorizing elements help us to make predictions about their properties? And your learning target is, I will predict some of the chemical properties of element X based on its position in the periodic table. Okay, so here is the periodic table. The periodic table is organized into groups. The groups are the columns that go downward. They are vertical columns. They all have similar properties, so everything in that column has similar properties. They all react similarly in chemical reactions. So, for example, lithium, when it reacts with chlorine, is a very violent reaction. So it's very, whereas if I take aluminum and chlorine, it's not as, it's just kind of fizzy. Okay. Shows charges for ions. So when we're going to talk about this later, but the ion charges are based on what group the element is in. And then it shows the valence electrons. Again, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Okay. The second thing you need to know about the periodic table is that it's built in periods. Okay. We call them periodic trends. Okay. They are horizontal rows, and each row represents an energy level. So remember, we're talking about where the electrons live in those energy levels. Each one of the rows, right, each period represents an energy level. The number of electrons that fit in an energy level is equal to the number of elements in that row. Okay, so the first energy level can hold 2 because there's 2 elements in the first energy level. The second energy level can hold 8 because there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, sorry, I missed the one that's behind the groups here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so those are groups and periods. Families are groups in the periodic table that have similar properties and reactivity. So sometimes instead of calling it group 1, we will call it by a special name. Okay? Chemical families tend to be associated with the vertical columns on the periodic table, except for this one right here. Okay? There are 2 families right here where they are in rows. And so the families that you need to know are group 1, which is the alkali metals, group 2, which is the alkaline earth metals, group 3 is that whole kind of in between block. They are called the 3 through 12 are called the transition metals. Group 17, that's this one right here, are called the halogens. Group 18 are called the noble or inert gas. And then period 6, that's the brown one right here, that's called the lanthanides. And the period 7 are the actinides. Okay? So these are the families, and these are the ones that you need to know what they're called. So let's look at a couple of examples. What element is in period 4, group 12? Okay, so go to your periodic table, go to the 4th period, so it even says period 4 on the side, on the left-hand side, and then go all the way over to group 12. Group 12 is the group just before the break ends. And so you have group 12 is zinc. Okay. What elements are in 89 through 103? So their atomic numbers are 89 through 103. And those are called the actinides. Those are the ones on the bottom of the periodic table. And then how many groups are in the periodic table? If you count, it says period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notice the lanthanides and actinides are not separate. They are part of 6 and 7. So there are only 7 groups in the periodic table. Okay, so now you should be able to identify elements based on their period, their group, and their family.